Hi everyone, this is Kris Ashley. It's great to be back with you. It has been a minute since I have done one of these longer form pieces of content. And if you don't follow me on TikTok or Instagram, my name on there is @ChangeYourMindWithKris. And I post a ton, like multiple times a day, short form videos that are between 1 and 3 minutes long. I also post a bunch of pictures and quotes from my book on Instagram. I answer people's messages on Instagram. So I'm really active on those platforms, and I'm trying to get better about updating these longer form pieces of content for YouTube and for my podcast. So if you're following me on here, thank you for sticking with me. I really appreciate it. I'm going to get better about doing this. So today I want to talk about repressed emotions and how they interact with pain and with illness. And it's kind of a big, meaty topic. But before I get into it, please subscribe to my channel if you're watching this on YouTube. Follow me for more. I'm going to lower this thing a little bit. Follow me for more. All right, let's see how that looks. And again, follow me on all of these different channels. And my book is coming out soon. It's called Change Your Mind to Change Your Reality, How Shifting Your Thinking Can Unlock Your Health, Your Relationships, and Your Peace of Mind. And I just shared the cover and the photo I have for the back of it on Instagram. And I'm so excited that it's happening soon. It's coming all together. It's going to be a reality. So thank you for everyone who's supporting me and saying they can't wait for it to come out. It really, really means the world to me. Let's see what else. If you head over to my website, changeyourmindtochangeyourreality.com, sign up for my newsletter, and then I will send you a free PDF guide that is going to help you create, manifest your dream life. I will not spam you. I'll just send you, probably an email when my book is ready for pre-order. And I don't know, maybe if there's like a course that goes live or a discount on one-on-one coaching. Pardon me. All right. So let's get right into it. Repressed emotions can very much cause pain, very much cause illness in your body. So, why do we have repressed emotions? Well, there's a few different reasons. Sometimes we're just busy during our day and, someone says something to you that, kind of irks you or kind of hurts, and you just kind of swallow down that lump in your throat and just keep going, keep pushing forward, and just shove it down. Other times we're trying to avoid our emotions, right? So we're watching movies, we're browsing social media, we're having sex, we're shopping, we're playing video games, we're gambling, we're, going to concerts, whatever it is to just avoid our emotions. And I'm not saying that those things are bad, but if you're doing them to avoid your emotions, then, that can be an unhealthy habit. So, we're going to talk a little bit about ways we can release those repressed emotions and just talk a little bit more about it. So, one of the biggest repressed emotions that a lot of people have is fear. And I have a really good friend who's been in the AA world for just decades now. And she taught me that fear is an acronym for false evidence appearing real. And let's see, there's this really great exercise I do with my private coaching clients. And it's just a journaling exercise. And it's so, so helpful for releasing fear. So at the top of the page, you write, I am resentful that/at, and then leave a blank. And then the rest of the sentence is because I have fear that blank. And then you choose one thing you're resentful at. And this could be your partner. It could be your parents. It could be the government. It could be sexism. It could be your job, whatever it is. So let's say you say, I'm resentful at my partner. And then you would list out all the reasons that you have fear, the things you have fear of. So it might look something like this. I am resentful at my partner because I have fear that he'll break up with me. I'll end up alone. I'm not good enough. Everyone thinks I'm not good enough. My parents think that too. I've always been a bad daughter. I'm scared of losing my mother. And the idea is you don't even lift your pen up from the paper. You just let this stream of consciousness pour out of you. And as you might have seen with my example, a lot of times what happens is it's like peeling away the layers of an onion. You're going to get to deeper and deeper fears. And pretty soon you're going to recognize that the thing you were really afraid of, that surface level fear, isn't what you're actually afraid of. And there's something really deep at the root that's driving that. And then what you do is you look at your list of fears that you've now created and you ask yourself 2 questions. The first question, is any of this happening right now? The second question, is any of this something I want to happen? And chances are you are going to get resounding no's for both answers. Then you look at your list of questions again and say, none of this is going to happen. But even if it does, I will use this experience to learn and to grow. And then you rip that sucker up. Shred the paper, rip it up, burn it in a safe way. If it's digital, delete it, like whatever you need to do. And this symbolically releases it and keeps those fears from manifesting. Because a lot of times people who are into manifesting and journaling are really afraid to write down their fears. And, I do give a lot of journaling exercises on how to manifest your life. So like, what's the difference here? The first is that when we write down our manifest memoir, which is what I call it, we're using very specific language. And we don't rip it up at the end. So what does this exercise do? Well, the first thing is it shows you that none of these fears are happening right now. They are just ideas about a possible future that could happen, but they're not real. They're not really happening right now. And then the second thing it does is show you that oftentimes there is something deeper underneath that surface level fear. And finally, it gets them out of your head and onto paper, because when these fears are just circulating around in your mind, they're going to drive your unconscious programming, and that's going to affect your beliefs in life, your outlook, your lens, and it's going to affect all of your manifesting as well. And I just want to give a little piece that I probably should have given in the beginning about repressed emotions in general and fear. Like, we are here to have experiences as human beings, and we're here to learn and we're here to grow. And it is part of the human experience to have emotions. This is not like spiritual repression. Like, no one here is saying you have to be positive all the time. Like, no, you want to experience your amazing emotions, from like the heartbreaking that makes you fall to your knees to the joyful that makes you throw your arms wide open, and everything in between. You want to fully feel everything. That is the point, right? Emotions become repressed when you don't allow yourself to feel them. You push them down in their energy, and that energy is nowhere else to go but in your body. So it gets stuck, right? And that's when it becomes a repressed emotion. And because that energy is stuck in your body, that's why it can manifest as illness and disease, right? Disease means dis-ease. So, allow yourself to fully embrace your humanness, feel all your emotions, allow them to come in, feel them. And then as you feel them, you get to let them go, and they will very quickly dissipate. And the thing is too, like, as you start to feel your repressed emotions, the way to get rid of repressed emotions is to feel them. And as you start to feel them, they're very quickly going to morph into something else. So the best example is, a lot of times when we feel anger is covering up like deep heartache, like really, really profound sadness. So as you start to feel your anger that's repressed, sometimes it'll morph really quickly, oftentimes into sadness. So you might be like screaming and swearing 1 minute as you're feeling your anger, and then all of a sudden you're dropping to your knees and just like tears are pouring out of your eyes, because you let go of that top layer of anger, and now you're getting to that deeper layer of sadness. So as we're exploring this realm of emotions and learning toxic emotions, repressed emotions, and learning to release them, another really important thing is to pay attention to what triggers you. So triggers are mirrors that reveal to us what is unhealed about ourselves. So anything that triggers you in the outside world, whether it's a person, a situation, an event, something someone says to you, all of those are showing you where you have healing to do, because you cannot get upset about something that happens in the outside world unless that is something that you have not resolved within yourself yet. So an unhealed person is going to find offense in pretty much anything another person says or does. A healed person knows that what other people say and do has absolutely nothing to do with them. Because here's the thing, everything is neutral. Things people say to you are neutral. Events that happen are neutral. Circumstances are neutral. Everything in this world is neutral. You place the meaning of good or bad on top of something based off of your prior experience with it and based off of your lens and your belief system. So you can always change your mind, right? That's the title of my book, Change Your Mind. You can change your mind that that thing didn't affect you. You can decide that you grew from it, that you learned a lesson from it. You can decide that it's unimportant. You can decide to just let it go. And the point is to learn to thoughtfully respond rather than emotionally react or get triggered when these circumstances come up. Or if you become really masterful, the ultimate goal is to learn to just let things go and not even have to respond in the first place. And when we really look at what's making us angry and what's making us feel triggered, just like the fear exercise, it's often not the thing on the surface. So David R. Hawkins talks about this so well in his book, Letting Go, The Pathway of Surrender. He says that people with repressed emotions are like pressure cookers, right? And those emotions are always trying to vent themselves like steam venting out of a pressure cooker. They're trying to vent themselves out into the world to just like release some of that pressure. So outside events don't make you angry. You're already angry, and outside events give you a chance to release that anger out into the wild. Psychiatrists call this displacement. And you never want to say that you're triggered either, because when you say that you're triggered, you are playing the victim, you're playing small, and you're giving your power away, right? What you want to do is step into your own power and be able to make a conscious choice to heal, to let something go, to really examine why that thing is triggering you in the first place, to understand that triggers are mirrors, right? Again, like anything that triggers you in the outside world is a reflection of something unhealed within you. And when we're triggered, we're lashing out at people because we want them to change and accommodate our feelings, right? But you can't control anyone else. You can't control the outside world. All you can control is yourself, your own response, your own reaction. And when you go at someone in attack mode, like when you're triggered and lashing out, or you're saying that they're triggering you, all you're going to do is make them be defensive, and you're not going to get what you wanted out of it anyway. So it's all about doing the hard inner work here. Rather than blaming outside events and people for upsetting you, it's turning that glance inwards and saying, what about the situation upset me, and how can I use this opportunity to grow? Where can I go from here? How can I learn from this? How can I release this repressed emotion that's causing this? And everyone that you meet is a mirror, right? Everyone is a reflection of you. And a lot of times the way that you expect someone to show up or behave is the exact way that they are going to show up and behave. And also the way that you interpret someone else's actions, or the way that you perceive someone else, is oftentimes the exact same way that they perceive you. And I'll give you a little story. I had a friend when I was in college, and she had this other group of friends. She was a roommate of mine, and she had this group of friends, and there was this girl that was just kind of new to her friend group. And everyone loved this girl. Okay. And she was great to everyone else, but her and my friend like totally clashed. And my friend, my roommate, was always like venting to me about it. And she was like, I don't understand it. She's so warm and friendly to everyone else, but she's cold towards me. She's aloof. She's like really distant, and she's kind of rude. And eventually her and this girl had to hang out so much together, and they finally got one-on-one time. And that girl admitted to my friend that she saw her as cold, she saw her as aloof, saw her as distant, and she saw her as rude. And my friend was blown away because she used the exact same adjectives, the exact same descriptive words to describe her as she had used to describe this other girl. And that was such a learning moment for me, because at first I was like, she's telling me the story and I'm like, how could anyone think you're cold or distant or aloof? You're like so sweet and warm and friendly and you love bringing people together. But then I paused, because that's the side of my friend that I focus on. And that's what I choose to see in her. And so that's what that's what's reflected back to me. That's the side of her I get. And everyone has different sides to them, right? And the law of attraction says what you focus on is what you're going to get. And this has rang true every time in my life since. Anytime anyone has told me honestly what they thought about me, whether it's good or bad, anytime they've been brutally honest, it is the exact same way that I think of them, down to the exact same description words. We create our reality, and everyone you meet is a reflection of you. So there is this phenomenon sweeping the nation, I'm sure you've heard of it, called cancel culture. And cancel culture is where there's a whole group of people that become triggered at once, right? And they lash out at a specific target, usually over social media, pretty much always from the safe anonymity of behind their computer screen or their phone screen. And what's even more wild is a lot of times people who weren't even triggered by the initial event or the thing that was said end up jumping onto this bandwagon because they were influenced by the thought form of energy. Now, if you're not familiar with what a thought form of energy is, think of it kind of like this big cloud, right? If people start to get emotional about the same thing and they're putting that emotion out into the world, it kind of becomes this like big angry cloud. This is so random, but I used to watch Care Bears, and there was this like Care Bears movie I used to have where there was this like angry gray like little thunder cloud thing. And I always think about that when I think of a thought form of energy. So they're putting this energy out there, and momentum starts to build, and this thought form, this cloud starts to take on a life of its own, and it sweeps up all of these other people in its path. And it gets people like so wrapped up in it that they can't even make a different choice, right? They can't even ask a different question and escape this hive mind. That's kind of what it becomes, a hive mind. It's like the Borg from Star Trek. You're learning I'm a total nerd. So anyway, cancel culture is a group of people choosing to have an emotional reaction where they could instead have a thoughtful or empathetic conversation. They are appointing themselves judge. They're placing blame on another. They are missing out on the opportunity to cultivate true understanding and compassion and healing. But all of these people are misstepping, because the way that you heal the outside world is by first healing yourself. And like I was just saying when I was talking about triggers, you can't change the outside world through force, right? The outside world is a projection of you. It's like this movie that plays in real time that you are creating with your thoughts, your beliefs, the way you feel about yourself. And the outside world isn't separate from you. People think that all these people out there are separate from them, but really it's all part of you. It all comes from you. And quantum physics backs this up, by the way. So, the way to heal humanity or a broken society is by healing yourself. And as you heal yourself and you make a new choice and you step towards peace and love and kindness and empathy and compassion for your fellow humans, you are going to be like this light, right? And everyone is going to look to you as inspirational. And as you lift yourself up, you can just then lend everyone else a lending hand, a helping hand, and pull them up to your level. But you can't force them to change. And we're all connected. There's so many teachers that write about it. Greg Braden writes about it in The Divine Matrix, how there's this cosmic canvas that intertwines all of us. There's the 100th monkey effect. Oh, my cat's going crazy. There's the 100th monkey effect that says it happened because there was this 30-year experiment on an island off of Japan where these scientists were feeding these wild monkeys sweet potatoes, and they would throw the sweet potatoes in the dirt. And the monkeys loved the sweet potatoes, but they hated that they were covered in dirt. And one day, this one 18-month-old female monkey started washing her potatoes off in water and then eating them. And like all the other monkeys watched her, and then they started doing it. And pretty soon all the monkeys on the island were doing it. And then this tipping point was reached. Once they reached that certain amount, that's why it's called the 100th monkey theory, 100th monkey effect. And all of a sudden on the same day, that same breed of monkey on every island in Japan and on the mainland of Japan all started washing their food in the exact same way. And Drunvalo Melchizedek in The Ancient Secret of the Flower of Life, which by the way was the book that like led to my awakening when I was 17, he says that every breed, every species has this grid around the earth that connects them. But you know, whatever it is, the point is we are all connected. And when we're back at cancel culture, when you attack another person, when you make them feel humiliated, when you make them feel shame, when you kick them when they're down, when you do that, that energy, that emotion goes out into the collective consciousness, and it's uploaded into the collective consciousness, and you are just attracting more of that into humanity, more humiliation, more shame, more anger, more pain, more guilt, more blame. And it's like cancel culture is like creating a war to fight for peace. It doesn't work that way. Okay, like we are all connected. It is an illusion that we are all separate. And what one person does greatly affects the whole. And quantum physics talks about this too with entanglement. So, you know, let's be kind to each other and not make this ride any more difficult for anyone else. So there's a connection between your repressed emotions and your pain and your illness. You know, disease is dis-ease. And in my book, I look at all these common ideas around illness from all of these different teachers. But basically what they all have in common is to say that emotions are very much connected to what's going on in our physical body. Your thoughts, your physical state of being is a direct reflection of the thoughts and emotions going on within you, right? Your inner world creates your outer world, and that is true for your body as well. And the symptoms that you feel are your body's messages telling you that something's out of alignment, because our natural state of being is one of health and wellness, right? Illness and pain is your body telling you that something is out of alignment. That is not our natural state of being. And it's kind of hard to believe that in our modern times when so many people are, you know, in chronic pain and focus so much on their pain and illness. You know, and that just kind of brings me to a side note about medication. You know, like, since our symptoms are the messages from our body that something's out of alignment, and when we just cover that up with medication, the metaphor I like to use is that it's like your house being on fire and your smoke detector going off. Now, you can take the batteries out of your smoke detector, right? You can cover up the symptom, but the problem still persists, right? There's still a house on fire, and your body is on fire too with that pain or that illness. So it's really interesting. Western doctors who study chronic pain patients, and I got a lot of this from the Curable app, they did a lot of research, have actually found that the pain that you feel in your body doesn't originate in the body part that hurts. Pain comes from your brain and your nervous system. And when your brain and your nervous system get overloaded, that's when pain happens. And when this happens often, that's when chronic pain happens. And they've actually seen how your brain can reprogram itself when these pain pathways get so overloaded and they become so sensitive so that the mildest trigger just sends you into pain. And this is in chronic pain patients. They've seen brain imaging scans where their brain has actually like changed. The good news is you can always reprogram your brain. One thing I found really interesting is that they say that people who have a strong internal locus of control, meaning they think that they are responsible and they have a big impact on the events that happen in their life, have less pain than people with a strong external locus of control. And the strong external locus of control means people who think that the circumstances in their life are due to fate or due to luck or things outside of their control. And this is so in line with everything I teach about the law of attraction and how your thoughts create your reality. Now, some people might get a little bristly and think that I'm trying to say that like you're making this all up or it's all in your head by saying that pain starts in our mind with our thoughts, but I'm not saying that at all, because remember, you create your reality. And so that pain and that disease is as real as anything you could possibly imagine because you've created it into your reality. And, you know, once you become so ingrained in your pain, it can become comfortable. You know, it becomes your story. It becomes the reason you do or don't do anything, the reason you don't meet your friends for lunch, the reason that you can't work, the reason, like, whatever, right? And it becomes like so wrapped up in your identity that you actually, a lot of people are afraid to actually heal because their identity is this illness. And, you know, when I say all this, I'm talking, you know, this is like a very personal thing. I know someone very close to me who's like this. And, you know, sometimes people don't really want to heal and they get value out of staying sick or in pain. Staying sick is a choice, just like healing is. Now, Alan Cohen says in A Course in Miracles that some people choose to stay sick because there are perceived payoffs to staying sick. So what are some perceived payoffs? Why would anyone want to stay sick? Well, one, they get excused from school or work or doing things that they don't want to do. Two, they get attention and sympathy. Three, they get money from the government. Or four, my favorite one, they get to be able to get revenge or to be right by making someone else out to be wrong. Yeah. So the only person who can really cure you is you. Whatever you believe is going to cure you is going to cure you. So if you think Chinese medicine is going to cure you, it will. If you think surgery is going to cure you, it will. You know, whatever you believe without a doubt, wholeheartedly in your mind is what's going to happen. That's the law of attraction. You create your reality. Your beliefs create your reality. And that's why the placebo effect is so powerful. You know, your body is responding to your thoughts and your beliefs. And like, we tend to think about the placebo effect with pills only, like, oh, you take this sugar pill and it makes you believe that you took a real medicine. But, you know, it's not just in pills, but it is also in pills. Irving Kirsch, who was the associate director of the program in placebo studies and a lecturer in medicine at Harvard University, said that 80% of the positive effects that antidepressants have can be attributed to the placebo effect. But one of my favorite studies has to do with surgery. So Baylor School of Medicine published a study in the New English Journal of Medicine in 2002 about an experiment that tested out the placebo's effectiveness on surgery. So Dr. Bruce Moseley authored the study, and he was an orthopedic knee surgeon who conducted it. So what he did is he divided these patients into 3 different groups. And usually when he did knee surgery, he cleaned debris out of the knee, he shaved down the bone, and then, you know, he sent them off for PT. So in this study, he divided patients into 3 different groups, and he didn't tell the patients which group they were in until 2 years after the study was completed. So the first group, he just cleaned debris out of the knee. The second group, he shaved down the bone. And the third group, he pretended to do surgery. Okay, he made an incision in their knee. They were in the operating room. He's asking his assistants to hand him a scalpel and all of that. He even splashes saline solution for effect. And then he stitches them back up, and he sends all 3 groups home with the same recovery instructions, including physical therapy. And what do you think the results were? All 3 had similar results. The people in the placebo group healed just as much. went on to live active lives, didn't use a cane anymore if they used a cane, went on to have no knee pain at all. All right, so pretty amazing. And a lot of people have heard of the placebo effect, but very few have heard of its counterpart, the nocebo effect. So the nocebo effect tells us that a negative thought, including the belief that you are vulnerable to a condition or have been exposed to a toxic substance or a disease, can actually manifest pain and illness in your body. And it is just as powerful at controlling your health as the placebo effect. Now, it is said that 1/3 of all medical healings can be attributed to the placebo effect. And when you think about the fact that psychologists estimate that 70 to 90% of our thoughts are negative and repetitive, that has serious implications, right? How much of our pain and illness are we causing with our negative thoughts? I'll give you one more really great study about the placebo effect. This one's probably my favorite. So a Harvard professor of psychology named Ellen Langer conducted this radical experiment in 1979 where she took 8 men that were in their 70s and she put them into a house decorated like it was 1959, so 20 years earlier. So she went like all out with this, by the way. So the Ed Sullivan Show played on the TV. They were like brought there in a 50s style car. Newspapers and magazines from the 50s littered the place. There was music from the 1950s. And let's see, they dressed in 50s clothes. There were pictures of them, their younger selves on their bedside table. There were no mirrors in the whole place. And there was no accommodation or mention for their physical state. So no one helped them with their luggage. No one helped them up the stairs. And these men, these 7 men, it was 7, right? Yeah, these 7 men lived in this house for 5 days. So they talked about current events, or talked about history like it was current events. They reminisced about the time period. And there was also a control group that lived in a similar house, but they weren't told to act like it was 1959. This group had to act like it was 1959. So in just 5 days, and they did all these tests, right, before and after on the control group and this group rocked the control group in every single test. There was some guy that came with in a wheelchair and he left using a cane. They played a game of touch football on the lawn. They stood up taller. They even physically looked younger. And then the BBC recreated this experiment in a little mini-series TV show called The Young Ones, where they did it with elderly celebrities, and they got the same results. There was someone who couldn't even put his socks on without assistance, and he threw a dinner party on the last night. So, you know, your body has this incredible capacity to heal itself once everything falls into alignment. Once your mind believes, your body very quickly follows suit. Again, your body is the outside representation of what is going on within you. And, you know, it's your thoughts, it's your belief, it's your lens, but it's also very much the way you feel about yourself, the way you think about yourself. All right, this episode's getting kind of long, so I'm going to go ahead and cut it short there. But I will do one in the future about ways to heal, ways to release repressed emotions. Again, my name is Kris Ashley. Thank you for listening. My book called Change Your Mind to Change Your Reality is coming out soon. Follow me on Instagram at Change Your Mind with Kris. Follow me on TikTok at Change Your Mind with Kris. Head over to changeyourmindtochangeyourreality.com. Sign up for